One, two. I got the bags under my eyes. I gotta do this move. One, two, two. Dong, 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 dong. Dong, dong, dong. Dong, dong, dong. Dong, dong, dong. Dong, 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 dong. What up, what up, what up, what up, what up? What's going on, Afropunk people? This is me messing with my curtain in the background. This is Tim Hotep. I am the editor at Afropunk. And we are eagerly awaiting the arrival of one Umi. I hope y'all know who Umi is. Oh, she just joined the chat. What up, Umi? Request to get in here so we can talk. All right, I figured out my curtain. Swag. Let's see. Boom. And here we go. One, two, one, two. Hi. Greetings.
Greetings.
This is Tim Hotep. We are in the place with Umi. How you
I
doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm positive. I'm feeling good today. It's a beautiful day in New York City, where I'm calling from. I'm indoors. I'm in the crib. I'm excited to talk to you today.
Grateful. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming through and speaking to the audience. Just off the bat, can I tell you, Afropunk's audience loves you and
Mm,
gets very, very excited at the mention of your name.
I'm so grateful. It's an honor. I feel like uh, Afropunk is such a cultural community, such a cultural icon. It feels so special to be welcomed into that world. So thank you for having me here. Thank you for the love.
Most definitely. So, like, what do you? I see plants in the background, right? My background is boring. I see your green thumb is popping. Tell me about the plants a little bit, and then I want to talk about a song in relation to that.
Yes, that's a great question. I got my plants everywhere. I feel like plants. I mean, when we think about just like the evolution of humanity, we kind of evolved in conjunction with nature for so long.
Hmm.
And it's only recently that we've been taken out of nature and we like live in homes with no dirt on the ground, with no trees around us. So my way of like staying grounded and connected to nature is having a bunch of plants in my house, and it reminds me of how connected I am to nature. I feel like the plants hear me when I like sing to them and when I talk to them, and I can hear when they need water. Like right now, they're like, "Water me, mom." I can hear them telling me. But plants give me a lot of grounding, especially when we're spending so much time at home. I think it's nice to have a couple plants.
To
Yeah.
have some life around you. Yeah, yeah. Did you name your plants? Are you one of those folks who name their plants?
I actually don't name my plants. I try not to even call them plants. Um,
Oh, okay.
they just are, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't, I used, did I ever, actually no, I never used to. I have a hard time naming things for some reason. It's just like, it feels weird to put a name on something. I don't even feel like I own these plants. They're not my plants. They just exist as plants, if that
I,
makes
I
sense.
like that mentality of like kind of being like in harmony with nature as opposed to like owning nature. And I
Exactly.
think that's a very progressive way to look at it. I rock with that. Yeah.
Exactly.
And it makes me want to talk about a song. Can you guess which song I want to talk about?
Yes. No.
Mother. I want to talk about Mother. I want to talk about because before I knew what it was about, I was listening to it, and it like tugged at my heartstrings, but it made me feel this warmth, this idea of care. And then when I found out it was about the environment and our connection to the environment, it kind of blew my mind. So, like, tell me about that song and its inspiration.
That song, I wrote it like a year ago when I was feeling really at odds with the world. I just kept having these dreams about like wild, like fires and natural
Yeah.
disasters, and just like us as a species being like just almost like destroying this home for ourselves. Um, and so I was like, I don't know why I'm feeling like this, but I'm gonna channel it into a song. So I wrote that song, and then this year I was like, I want to do something for Earth Day just to like give respect to Earth, Mother Earth. And so I released that song. And as I was coming up with the visual with it, um, I wanted it to have an even broader meaning. And for me, it's about how Mother Earth represents the feminine energy within all of us, and that
mm,
I think that our respect for Mother Earth is also really reflective of how we treat the feminine, divine feminine within ourselves.
mm,
And and
mm.
and as we learn to like lean into those feminine aspects of ourselves, which I think is like the creative aspect, the loving aspect, the giving aspect of ourselves, we also become more open to giving, loving the earth, and that we as a species can live in harmony with earth, but it takes us opening up a bit more in our heart space is what I kind of wrote the song about.
I love that, and I think even to extend it, I feel like being in tune with the world and nature around us puts us in better tune with ourselves, with people in general. Like, we can live in harmony with the world, but we can live in harmony with one another as well too.
Yes,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
so true. And that's what kind of excites me is like I feel like we've just started this evolution of humanity because we're just starting to love each other for the first time, like
Mm.
in of us as a human species. So I'm like, we haven't even learned to love each other, and I think we're doing pretty good as a species. Like, of course, there's places for us to grow, but as we learn, like you said, to love each other, it's like, what is the world going to become? It's going to be so lovely, so exciting to be a human on Earth.
I'm already loving this conversation because it so reflects the feeling I have when I listen to your music. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
know you're from like the Pacific Northwest originally. Now you live in like the LA area.
Mm-hmm.
Me, I'm a New York person, so I grew up around a lot of buildings, right? I feel like people from the Pacific West Coast and they're more in nature. They're more in tune. It's a calmer vibe to it. And I feel like that comes through your music. Even when you're talking about stuff that's like the dynamics of relationship, it's never jarring, right? It's always this like speaking to people very calmly,
Mm-hmm.
soothingly, but yet very strongly. I just like that about your stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow, look at that. I do think growing up in the trees and in the forest has helped to inform that. But I also think no matter when, what age, what time, return, you can always return to the forest, return to nature, and find that connection.
I know that you have a project on the way
Yes.
called introspection,
Mm-hmm.
right? And in this time where we've been quarantined, a lot of us have been isolated. Maybe we're family, maybe with where our partners or roommates, but we're not with the world at large, and we're not gathering at large.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it provided the opportunity, even though it is a traumatic time, the opportunity for a lot of introspection,
Mm-hmm.
right? So tell me like a little bit, because like I really appreciate the perspective in how you write.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me, in this time of quarantine, being home alone, being in your own, world, has anything about yourself been revealed to you? Have you learned anything about yourself in this time?
That's a great, great question. I've learned so much about myself. I think I'm a completely changed person from before quarantine. I think I'm a completely different person every day because of all of this time I have to sit and reflect with myself. But I feel like I've learned much how in tune I can become with my body and how much
Mm,
my body and my intuition can guide me and tell me a lot about myself. I learned how simple it is to feel good. Like it's just sleep, good food, and resting throughout the day, like not doing too much. I've learned like how to find a work life balance. Like I feel like before quarantine, I feel like a lot of people felt the same way. It was all about go, 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 go. Like how
yeah,
much that was what your metric of happiness and success was. But now, especially, I'm realizing like all I have to do is breathe, and that is success. Like all I have to do is wake up and exist, and that is the biggest accomplishment in the world. And reconnecting with the simplicity of life. And I feel like I've learned that from like just being and seeing the trees more, observing my plants more, and being like, my plants are so happy, and all they do is like be plants all day.
yeah, yeah.
They probably don't even think about being a plant. They just exist. And so I've learned a lot from nature and have put that into myself. I feel like that's what I've learned. Yeah.
That's super dope, and it's kind of an observation I made too about like
Mm,
stillness and just being. I think a lot of times we define ourselves through our productivity. We
mm,
define ourselves by all these things that are external to us, But in this time, I've really had time to like meditate, breathe,
Mm-hmm.
and be focused on how I feel, examining how I feel, why I feel that way, right? And then, kind of seeing if I can make a choice to feel a different way. Like sometimes, it's very easy to get in your own head and kind of go down a bad path and be, sad about stuff, whatever. But I've learned that you can kind of diffuse that if you just focus on like, all right, this is my place of peace. This is my place of happiness.
Fully, fully, fully. It's like allowing yourselves to feel your emotions, but not getting lost in those emotions and allowing the emotions to also pass. But I feel like when it was so go, 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 we didn't even like allow ourselves as a society to feel our emotions, and it was so
Mm-hmm.
in in our subconscious. And that's why I also think like when quarantine first started, everyone was feeling so hectic because I feel like all that suppressed emotion just came out.
Yeah, yeah,
Sit with myself and these thoughts, like I've never sat with myself, but as people have had gotten used to and adjusted to like being more, I think people just feel better right now in quarantine. Like, actually, I feel like a lot of people fuck with quarantine. They're like, I actually like being at home. I'm excited to see how the world shifts after this because I think more people start working from home, more people will start going out into nature, like re-examining their living situation, like how do I live optimally. So it's a
yeah.
cool, I'm going off on tangents, but yeah, I agree
No,
with that.
no, I rock with that, and I'm all here for the tangents because this is what I think about all the time, right? And I think like people talk about like a cultural reset. I think now is definitely a cultural reset where people start to re-examine like what their values are, right? Like now you realize the value of your interconnectedness with other people. Now you realize the value of true work-life balance. Now you realize the true importance of self-care. Like from like an Audre Lorde perspective, like a radical self-care. Like I have to make sure I sustain myself,
Mm,
so that I'm good for everybody around me. So yeah.
truly. And one thing I've also learned is like I'm flowing a lot more and allowing myself to do things when I feel like doing them versus doing them just because I said I had to do it. It's on the schedule. It's on the this and that. As oh, everything happens in divine timing. Like I don't have to force it, and so you can work smarter, not harder. And I feel like that's something all of society has also learned. So it's so exciting. It's like we all upgraded together as in 2022 world of the year of clear vision. Like I think we're in society's never going to be the same, and that's the best thing in the world.
You're such a thoughtful person. I just mentioned that the EP that's coming on summer solstice
Yeah,
is June 21st, y'all. Summer solstice,
and it's
introspection.
yeah, introspection, so divinely timed, I feel.
Let's talk about introspection, why you named the project that,
Mm.
and where you were at in crafting it and putting it together.
Mm. Thank you for that question. Ha, I'm back. The energy of that question caused the time to stop. But I made this project about what, let me start over. Introspection to me is all about self-awareness, self-observation, self-questioning, and I think that's reflective of what this past like year and a half has been for me. And I've
Mm,
worked course of the past year and a half, and the project has been the first time I've like really sat with myself and really asked myself deeper questions. I've meditated more as a daily practice, been journaling more as a daily practice. So while working on the project, I was really like reflecting on personal experiences I was going through, allowing myself to speak more deeply about my experiences, like just be way more transparent about how I feel.
mm,
And then also sonically, I really expanded what sonics I was singing on because I think before I was like, Umi doesn't do this, Umi doesn't do that, and I created walls for myself. And
yeah.
I've gotten deeper into knowing myself. I realized there is no Umi does this, Umi does that. Umi is different every day. I allow myself to be fluid and shift, and so the project, the sonics of it are so fluid. Like I'm so excited for people to hear because it goes all the way from like neo soul R&B, like introspection, and then I was like kind of in my rappy bag for a song that's coming out.
Hmm.
Project. I have like some really trippy sonics on the project. I have like a really hard hitting, like in your face type of song. And like 2 years ago, I would have been like, that's not me. But I've been introspective and realized anything can be me if I want it to be me, if I feel like it is a reflection of me. So the project is really like people's chance to understand who I am and see yeah, just see who I am, and I think in that process reflect back to themselves and be like, who am I? How do I feel? You know, I think the music evokes introspection just through the sonics of it.
You said a very, very important word. You said the word fluid, right? And I think, as we develop as people, we start to hopefully lean into our fluidity as opposed to like our rigidity, right?
Mhm.
Like I think it's very easy to say, I am this person, I do this, and this is it. But
Period.
then you,
Yeah.
yeah, period. And you realize how you kind of create a box for yourself with
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah.
And change is the only constant in life,
Yeah.
right? So like you have to move with change, right? Not, I'm on my Octavia Butler shit right
Hey,
now too, because
I'm,
who's also like a California lady, or was a California lady. She's from Pasadena. Um, but I want to talk a little bit more about the sound of stuff. I feel like, people associate you with this very calm, sometimes acoustic sound. And I think little by little, over the past few years, you've been showing your range,
Mhm.
right? Tell us about that exploration of different sounds and what's behind that.
Ooh, that's a great question. I honestly feel like the expanding of my sound is reflective of like my expanding of self and
Mm-hmm.
like being more comfortable with myself and like allowing myself to like hit higher notes and belt if I want to and just like release more through music and express more through music. But also I'm realizing more and more how powerful music is, how healing music is, and how different frequencies can evoke different emotions in people and
Yeah.
different thoughts in people. And that's what I've really been experimenting with this project. I feel like every song evokes a different thought, especially a different color. Every song to me has a very different color to it. So I
Some
think,
synesthesia going
yeah.
on. Yeah. Okay.
So as you listen, that's my goal for all my music is like when you listen, you get to know me, but you also get to know yourself better. And I think the sonics help to do that. Because it's just, I think it's just some like subconscious psychology attached to it. You know what I mean?
And you know what? I think it's psychology, and I also feel like there's just really straight up and down like a physical universe connection between
Mm,
vibrations and our feelings. Like
mm,
human beings, we exist not apart from the universe, we are in the midst of it, right? So when we talk about like vibrating and vibrating higher, like we're tuning forks and all that. Yeah.
true. Oh my gosh, that's so true. We are vibrating ourselves and we emit a vibrational frequency. People are attracted to that vibrational frequency. It's so important to be mindful of that frequency. And that's why I don't even like to say fans. I like to say my tribe because I feel like everyone
Mm.
next to my music just naturally vibrates at my frequency and I'm vibrating at your frequency at their frequency, so it's like we get to create a family through the music. It's almost like I don't know, like some waves. Everyone's like ding ding ding, oh I
Yeah.
vibrate, now we're all a family. So I'm excited for like when shows come back and festivals come back, like I feel like people are gonna make friends, they're gonna find partners, they're gonna find like creative partners through the shows, like just coming to my show and connecting with people who all vibrate at that frequency, if that makes sense.
No, no, that completely makes sense. I think, there's intention to throwing a festival, right? And with Afropunk, the intention is to create this really safe, uh, not just a safe space, but a welcoming space for all the spectrums of people that there are, right? Like, there's a lot of places where people don't feel comfortable, they don't feel accepted.
Mm-hmm,
Even within the realm of the idea of blackness, right? And I
mm-hmm.
think Afropunk is like, let's create a space where we can all vibrate together, be ourselves, and feel like you're accepted, because there's so much in the world that tells you you shouldn't be the way you are, right? The way you naturally are. It's always great to find your tribe, like you said. So like we try to present like this opportunity for people to find their tribe. Yeah.
So valuable, so valuable to be heard, to be understood, to be represented.
Hmm. We are vibing on our spiritual stuff. I know that introspection is coming around the summer solstice, which is
Mm.
like, is that the new moon in Cancer? What's the astrological event? It's new moon in Cancer, right?
Exactly.
So tell us a little bit about your like spiritual practices, beliefs. I know you're very in tune with,
Mm.
the earth and thinking about vibrations, but I think people, I saw it in the comments, people want to know about your spirituality.
Mm. My spirituality. I would say my spiritual journey began maybe like 3 years ago when I went, I can move to California. But honestly, it wasn't that I moved to California, it's that I like got out my house and lived by myself for the first time. And I feel like in that space of aloneness, I really went inward and was like, what can I do to find more peace and more happiness? I've always been a very anxious person. That's like a title I had put on myself. I was like, I'm an anxious
Hmm.
person. I'm shy. And I just felt like every day I wasn't living my happiest life. Like I felt a lot of dis-ease within myself, but I knew like that wasn't how life was meant to be experienced.
Hmm.
I was like put on earth to not enjoy every day, to not
That's
find.
a bar. That's a bar. Yeah.
I kind of went on like a self-discovery of like how can I just find more joy and more peace and more presence. And my first step was meditating. And that was one way where every morning I just sit with myself and sit with my thoughts and remind myself that all that matters is my breath and all that matters is is this present moment. And then from there, it's expanded to like reading books and learning about spirituality from other great philosophers, doing yoga and connecting more with my body and learning, oh, there's like energy in my bones and in my ligaments, and if I stretch that I can feel better throughout the day because I'm releasing anger from my shoulders and
Mm.
from my hips and things like that. I started doing tarot recently, which has been really fun for me, a way for me to get answers about thoughts and ideas in my mind. Journaling helps, but the whole goal of my spirituality has always just been to find more joy and realizing like to me there's a difference between spirituality and religion.
Mhm.
Spirituality of just a practice, a daily practice of presence. And so everyone can have their own practice of spirituality, but I think regardless of how you practice it, I think everyone is tapped into the idea of energy and frequency and presence. Yeah.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Thinking about energies and energies like shifting and changing. Let's talk about the release date and why you chose that date. Because I think it's a Sunday, right?
Mm,
Everybody's dropping stuff like Thursday night, Friday morning. Why'd you choose the solstice and this transition in seasons?
mm.
What was that about?
So with every song on the project, so I have 3 singles coming out before the project comes out. Every single song follows the moon cycle. So that was mine.
Oh.
I think the moon just has some really powerful energy, and every full moon, new moon, I feel very pulled and very expanded.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to harness the power of that. And then I think the project is summer. It feels like every season, but it really feels like a newborn energy, like a newness to it. So I felt like the solstice was the perfect time to do that. Harness the energy of nature, harness the energy of the universe pretty much was my intention. And then with the new moon in Cancer, Cancer is all about feeling our emotions, tapping into memories and experiences with people. So I felt like it would also be a great time to harness that frequency with the project.
I don't know if you're into astrology all the way, but what's your sign for those who don't know?
Yes, I love astrology. I'm an Aquarius. What's your?
Oh, I'm a Libra. I'm a
Oh,
Libra, so I'm constantly seeking balance in a lot of ways. I'm always trying to see different sides of things too.
This is
Tell
nice.
me about the traits of your sign, Aquarius.
Aquarius. Aquarius is all about. So Aquarius is an air sign. I always thought it was a water sign actually, but it's an air sign, and it's all about future thinking. It's about innovation. It's about community.
Mm,
Um, the sign in itself is a bit of a paradox because Aquariuses love to spend time by themselves, but also equally love to spend time with people.
mm.
So a balance between those two aspects of myself. And I feel like one Aquarius thing that is so relevant to me is I live so in my head, which is why meditation is good for me, but I live so in my head so clearly, and I think it helps with my manifesting. Like I everything, even if it's like far out, I'm like, it's so possible, it's so doable because I already saw this image in my head. I saw the in my head. I saw everything in my head. Of course, it's gonna happen, you know. So it helps me with my blind trust in things.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you feel like, all right, so becoming an artist professionally, I feel like in itself is a brave move. It's like almost going out kind of on a ledge and being like, yo, I'm just gonna do this, right? Um, especially for a person who is self-described as, maybe a little bit introverted and shy, right? Tell me about manifesting your career up until this point,
Mm,
because like not all of us are extroverted and outside and blah blah blah, but we
mm,
all have these dreams, we all have these things that we want to accomplish, right? Tell me about balancing the part of your personality that's maybe a bit to herself with the
mm,
part of you that was like, no, I'm going to manifest this, I'm going to make this a career, because in a relatively short time, you've come to the consciousness of people and people love what you do, like, and without any like, it wasn't like, oh, she got the crazy cosign from so and so, whatever. It was like just very organically, people were
mm,
like, yo, I vibrate with this, right?
mm.
So talk about that a little bit.
Such a you come with the great questions. I'm loving making me go within. But I would say, yeah, I've always been so shy. I really like have had the worst stage fright until probably like a year ago. But it's always been one of those things where I was like, if I'm not doing music, I'm not going to be happy, and I want to be happy. So no matter what fears I have, I'm going to follow my dreams. And it was one of those things where it was just like I tried working an office job like in high school, try to work a 9 to 5, and I was like, I'm just not happy. I can't do this. I'm like, there's no point in existing if I'm not living in joy. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I was like, I don't care if I'm scared to perform in front of people. I don't care if I kind of suck right now. I'm gonna keep doing it. I'm good at it because I literally see the vision of me performing on stage. I see the vision of me in the studio. I see all these visions. Like there's nothing different from me in the present moment and me in the future. And having that realization. So I would like do open mics every week when I came to LA, and I would
That's dope.
and sang for like a year because I was too scared and my voice was shaky. And I remember I got to open for this artist named Odie once. And when the offer came in, I was like, no fucking way I'm doing that. I'm too scared. I was like, hey, if you want to do this for real, you gotta get over this fear. So I did it, and honestly, I sucked, but it was fine because this to my growth, you know. So it was like constantly taking those risks. And I think one thing I value in myself is I'm really I'm not afraid to take risks. My mentality is like if I know what's gonna happen, I don't take that path. I always take the unexpected path because I can always go back to the expected path, you know? So constantly challenging myself to not even challenging, expanding myself to follow my dreams has allowed my dreams to manifest. But also on like a manifestation tidbit, I also like make vision boards for myself, and I made
I
one.
peeped that on YouTube. Yeah.
And make vision boards. I write affirmations. Whenever I start to doubt myself, I affirm myself. Whenever I start to feel like I don't believe in myself, I'm like I am talented. I am
Hmm.
making always making the right decisions. I'm always in the right place at the right time. Like no matter what, affirming that for myself, being my biggest fan and my biggest believer has helped things to work out. And then also, sorry, I'm just going.
Nah, go for it, fam.
Thank you. I would say the last thing is like just sitting back and trusting, just trusting. I'm like, nothing has to happen. Not just everything is gonna happen when it's meant to. Nothing has to happen forcefully, you know. So I feel like that's been my career, just a natural unraveling of what's meant to be happening.
It's
Yeah.
like going with the flow. I like that a lot. Um, and with the visual EP, like Love Language, I liked what you did with that a lot. For a number of different reasons. I just thought it was cool to have this like visual representation of the ideas and the songs that were kind of artfully done, so you kind of really understood where you were in your head. And then I read stuff about it, and it said like this project is dealing with the ideas of identity and
Mm,
race and intersectionality. So
mm,
talk a little bit about that, and why you felt like that was something you wanted to put out on that project.
mm, mm. Yeah, I wanted. So I'm half black and I'm half Japanese, and I felt like expressing that part of myself was really important for me, especially in the beginning of my career, just letting people know like I identify with both aspects of my identity. And though like when you look at me, I feel like I don't look Japanese right off the bat. I
Hmm.
culturally very Japanese, and it's very important to my essence, to me being me. And so I wanted to kind of make a project that reflected that inner conflict I went through growing up about like I don't look Asian enough, but I also don't look black enough. And I feel like that's an experience a lot of people go through. And I think now's the generation of like mixed kids that like everybody my age is mixed or has mixed friends or knows someone who's of mixed heritage or just just feels mixed. I feel like you just feel
Hmm.
compilation of so many identities now more than ever because you grew up around people who didn't look like you for the first time. The internet connects you to people who grew up differently from you. So I feel like the project reflects what it means to grow up right now, to have multiple parts of yourself. Yeah.
I think that's dope because like very rarely do you see the stories of mixed race people, told in popular culture, right? Like, like there's literally the show Mixed-ish, but
Mm,
before that, you don't really hear it reflected very, very often. And I think um one of the trappings or the traps of identity is sometimes it flattens people, right? Like we all encompass a bunch of different things at once, and then the binary kind of
mhm.
flattens us and, oh, you're just that. And I think we're in an era now where people are trying to really get in tune with intersectionality through the lens of being a multifaceted human being.
Yeah.
Like you're all these things at once. So
Yeah.
I definitely like how that's reflected in the music. Yeah.
That's so well worded. It flattens. It does flatten. And I don't even like to say like, oh, I'm half this, half that, because I feel like I'm like way more than half of one thing and half of another.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think that's cool because I feel like when I made that project, I definitely felt like, oh, I'm half black, half Japanese. And now, like a year later, I'm like, yes, I'm half black and I'm half Japanese, but I'm also whatever I want to be. You know what I mean? Just like a
Hmm.
lot of my understanding of self. So uh, yeah.
And also as like a person of color, a black person, I really feel like one of the things that Afropunk is predicated on is that blackness is not monolithic. It's not one thing. It's not one way it's lived. It's not one way it's you exist in it or whatever. It's a spectrum. It's really like a spectrum of different types of things, right? And I think the more we hear conversations and points of view from that are underrepresented, the more we have a better, fuller understanding of all of our humanity. Yeah.
True, so true. And that's what I love about Afropunk. I feel like you said, you represent all of blackness and all the shades of it, all the
Manifestations.
of it. I feel like it's so important for people of color to see themselves in the world, especially in the creative world, to be like, oh, if I have a creative passion, I can do it. It doesn't matter if that's not what the mainstream is right now. Like I can create the mainstream. I can create, the new wave. So yeah. And I think,
So go ahead.
oh, sorry.
No,
Um,
go ahead.
being Asian as well, I feel like it's cool to be able to represent the Asian community and be like, I don't know, I just don't feel like there's a lot of representation in the creative world for the Asian community. So
Mm,
that I can be like a catalyst for more um, Asian people who identify as Asian to know like, oh, I can pursue a creative passion, a creative dream just as much as I hope I can do that for other Black people as well.
and I think you spoke to a really important thing, and it's the idea of creating what the mainstream is. I think a lot of people assume that the mainstream is just this static thing,
Mm.
but my influence, your influence, the people who are watching right now. Shout out Baby Rose. She was in the
I
comments. All of us, we create what the mainstream is. We
mm,
create what the normal is, right? And I think now that the world's in this place of transition, all of us have a chance to like redefine things in a very humanistic way,
mm.
like from being in tune with nature to being in tune with just everybody. So it's like our imagination creates the reality is what I'm saying. Yeah.
Oh, I was just thinking about that, about the idea of dominant thought and how what the dominant thought of society is shifts the energy of society. Um, I could go off on a tangent on that, but I think because of going back to quarantine, the collective thought, the collective vision has, I think, become more positive, has become more introspective, has become more caring. So I'm excited to see what the world looks like if the dominant thought now is love and the dominant thought is an openness, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
I know we're vibing mad hard. I'm taking up a lot of your time. But you have something coming soon. I'm
Yes,
guessing, right? Like soon,
yes.
like this week, like tomorrow, right?
Soon, like
Can
tomorrow.
can without can you tease what it is for the
Yes.
folks?
So track 2 off my project called Open Up is dropping tomorrow. I love the song. It's like an anthem, and I'm excited also to perform this at a festival. When I wrote the song, I was like, this is like a festival anthem-y song. It's like in my R&B bag, but the song really is all about opening up my heart space and the intricacies of love, really, and balancing like caring for myself and also caring for someone else at the same time, and the thoughts that went through my mind during that stage in my life. I wrote it about a breakup, and when I was unsure whether I wanted to break up with the person or not, because I felt really bad about breaking up with the person because I loved the person, but I
Mm-hmm.
break up with the person because I also love myself and I needed to take some time for myself. And I feel like that's such a relatable stage in a relationship, like
We've
that
all been through it. Yeah.
stage. And so that's really what I wrote the song about. And how, as I opened up my heart space, I started to get more clarity on like what direction to take the relationship.
So fans, everybody out there, tribe out there, get ready to open up your fourth chakra when
Yeah.
it drops tomorrow.
Yeah.
We're gonna open up our heart space, and I think the idea of opening up your heart space not just to others but also to yourself is very important, and balancing how much love you give and self care with how you care for others. So I'm excited to hear this.
Thank you. I'm excited. Hear it. It's gonna be a vibe. And I would say for your first listen, or actually not your first listen, but maybe one of your listens, listen to it in the car because another theme of the song is how the car is a space of introspection and how in your car you almost feel free to like sit with your thoughts and sit with yourself. So if you have a chance, bump it in the car at night, let it be your night drive song, see what emotions come to mind. Yes.
This is dope. Okay, okay, ladies, gentlemen, everybody, people, humans,
And
life forms. Let's open it up. Life forms in the place of this. This is Omi, y'all. Thank you for this lovely conversation. I know it's what around noonish for you, around 1 o'clock. It's like later in the afternoon, but I'm saying this is a conversation that is setting off my day very right. So, shout out to everybody who tuned in, and thank you again. We are very eager to hear the new music, and you are welcome here whenever.
thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the beautiful questions. Thank you, everyone who joined in and everyone who's watching this later on in your day. I appreciate you. I appreciate your energy. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Today's an amazing day.
It
Today,
is.
day.
All right, Omi, peace.
Peace. Thank you so much for your time.
Later, y'all.
I'll
Bye,
see you.
Afro Punk peoples.
Bye, Afropunk peoples. Bye.